Hello and welcome to the next in our series of special interviews here on TVP World. My name is Ashim Kumar. Today I'm delighted that we're joined by Mr. Alexei Savchenko. He's a volunteer at CF Army SOS Kyiv. Mr. Savchenko, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. So before we go into the main topics that I'd like us to discuss, tell us a little bit, very briefly if you can please, what the CF Army SOS Kyiv does.
We are a charitable foundation who helps Army, Ukrainian Army since 2014. Our main directions are software, special software, military software for artillery, and we are building UAV, small planes, reconnaissance planes.
I see. So electronics, technology, logistics, that kind of thing, built for the Ukrainian army and to their demand. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, excellent. So you must be very well aware then of what's going on the front. I'd like us to start, please, with the Zaporizhzhia power plant and the risks and dangers around that. Now, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for a demilitarized zone around the power plant, including the withdrawal of all troops. How likely do you think that is to happen?
Yeah, I would like to stress that that power plant is occupied by Russian forces, so Ukrainian side has nothing to do with it. And I don't think that this request will be heard or complete by Russians, because their goals are obvious. They want to occupy whole Ukraine and destroy Ukraine as a nation. Just remove it, erase it from the globe.
Right. So what is the role, as you think the Russians are using the power plant for in achieving their war aims? How do they intend to use it?
This is the pure nuclear terrorism. They are using it as a leverage to push on the West, on Ukraine, to give up the positions, to surrender, whatever they dreaming about. They demand by claiming that they can destroy it, or as they say, Ukrainians strike it and it can blow up.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? They are blaming the Ukrainian side for firing at the power plant. And in fact, there's an interesting quote from the Russian ambassador to the UN, who says that the Russian forces there are protecting it. The question then is, Alexei, who might they be protecting it from?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because this nuclear power plant did not require any protections for years, and suddenly, when Russians invaded Ukraine, it needs a protection. I think it's a very strange and weird formulation by Russians.
Right. Yes. I mean, there are a number of questions that one could pose to the Russian ambassador at the UN. Unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity tonight, but we shall keep trying. Now, the line connecting the last working reactor at the power plant to the Ukrainian power grid has been disconnected. Now, we're hearing reports that the reason for this is that there's a fire at the plant and this is being done for safety reasons. Are you hearing the same thing?
I don't find anything related to disconnecting or disrupting operation of the nuclear power plant as a safety reasons. The only safety measures can be done is complete demilitarization by Russians. They have to just forget about this area and maybe 10 kilometers away from this plant.
So what do you think is the reason for this disconnection?
It's another set of pushing further by Russians.
Right. Because, of course, there has also been talk of connecting the reactors to the Russian electricity grid. And perhaps this might be the first step in achieving that. What do you think of that idea?
I don't think that this is possible, but they can try. I heard that they were planning initially to connect it to Crimea and supply whole energy to Crimea, but there is a battlefield going on the way.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm sure that our forces will not let that happen.
Well, as you say, it's not an easy thing to do, especially under battle conditions. So yes, we shall see what they try to move on to. Let's have a look at the bigger picture now. I think we've got a map of the situation as it currently stands in Ukraine, with, of course, the red areas being occupied and the blue parts of the occupied zone reflecting the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Couple of things about that, please, Alexei. How effective do you think the counteroffensive has been and is being so far?
It's not a pure counteroffensive as it is considered by the military standards. This is a small step-by-step pressure that our forces are creating on exhausted Russian troops. Because for the counteroffensive, Ukrainian needs a lot of weapons, tanks, aircrafts, and right now this is like a tactics of 1,000 small cuts, just in order to further exhaust already exhausted animal.
Right. So it's a step-by-step approach, but we do see particular emphasis from the Ukrainian side towards the south, around Kherson and so on. What is the strategic? Why is Kherson the strategic goal, do you think? What's so important about that city?
Currently, Russians are on the right bank of Dnipro River, and this is area from which, in the future, if they will manage to accumulate enough forces, this is area which they can use in order to advance further to Mykolaiv or Odessa, and strategically very important for Ukraine to clear out this area and push Russians away through the river.
Well, we see how the Russians are using their control over the port to put a stranglehold on grain exports, for example, and so presumably it would be very helpful for Ukraine to have that freed up. Moving up to the north, we see that the Russians have been focusing on Bakhmut. They haven't been successful so far. What do you think's going on there?
We can't comment it at the moment, but I'm sure that Ukrainians and the world will hear some positive news in the future.
Right. Well, let's hope that's true. Now, speaking generally about, you mentioned earlier about the need for more weapons by the Ukrainian army. How is that looking? Of course, you're playing your role in this, but in terms of heavy weaponry, long-range missiles, precision missiles, and so on, are they now coming through on a more consistent, more regular basis, Alexei?
The war is such a thing when ammunition is always not enough, and for real, very powerful counteroffensive, we need extreme amount of ammunition right now. So if you will ask any Ukrainian or military, they will always be unhappy about the volumes we have. But we are very thankful for what we have, because without Western help, I don't think we would manage to stop Russians and make any counteroffensives. So
yes, and let's hope that that help continues and goes from strength to strength. Have you heard any, for example, Leopard tanks were requested by Ukraine from Germany? Are those actually being sent? Have you heard anything about that?
No, they are not being sent. The discussions are going on. We need any good tanks in our army right now.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
I think it will take some time. We will see what Marshall Plan will do. Maybe it will freeze out the hold, unfreeze the
Right.
hold. I'm sorry.
Yes, unfreeze all, yes, process and get ammunition flowing more freely. On the other side, Alexei, we're hearing that Russia is buying drones from Iran and ammunition, missiles, and so on from North Korea. What does that tell you about the position of the Russian army at the moment?
Yes, from one side it is very funny because such an ally is for Russia, for second most powerful army in the world. Such an allies are very funny. But anyhow, any drones which will perform the job. I'm not sure about Iranian drones and the quality of those drones because Iran is itself under sanctions. So what kind of technology they have, I'm not sure. But if the drones they have and they supply to Russia will perform at least 70% of what they declare, then it might be a problem or discomfort,
Right.
depending on the volume.
Right. Well, we shall wait and see how effective those drones are, and indeed the missiles coming from North Korea. Of course, Russia is denying this story at the moment, but well, that shouldn't surprise us, I suppose. Thank you so much for joining us, Alexei, and sharing your insights. And we wish you the very best of luck and success in your in your job.
Yes, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Good
much.
evening.
Good evening to you.